Guys, welcome back. For anybody who's been keeping up with my story, today is going to be a video about reflection and to give you guys an update on what's occurred since I've started talking about everything that I've been through for the most part in these videos. So I realize about myself that I typically like to keep things as black and white as possible. I believe that's the best way for me to digest information, dissect it, and, really internalize the information and receive the message, receive what I'm supposed to receive from whatever situation, whatever learning experience it is. And I've learned to do this over the years, and I think that's the best thing that works for me in order to be able to analyze the situation and adapt accordingly, right? So I again, back in college, I was in the same art class that you see me referencing in my previous art piece. I had some leftover paint, and funny enough, you ever see these art pieces where it's just a bunch of paint and it doesn't really have a pattern or a specific direction that it's moving, it's just thrown on a canvas? I just had one of those silly moments where I wanted to kind of quickly create one of those quick pieces with this leftover paint. And I had some black and white paint, that's what I was using, and I kind of just swirled it around, right? And after doing it, I decided to really keep it because it made so much sense to me on a much larger scale. So here's that image. I think, like I said, that's the best way to separate information from good, bad, and the misunderstood, confused, or undefined. And I don't like the gray area for the most part because I feel like people can find lots of excuses and ways around dealing with issues in the gray area. So back to my story. Since speaking about the events of my childhood and various experiences, and it has definitely been an emotional roller coaster. It hasn't been an easy one, to say the least. Okay, so let's just quickly summarize the fact that since coming out about to the world, to my social media, to anybody who follows me, really, about my sexual abuse, especially the childhood, because it deals with my family directly, my family's response to it hasn't been a good one. It hasn't been a good one. I mean, for a couple of people, cousins, yes. Aunt one, yes. For my immediate family, I haven't received a response at all, which is as good as a bad response. For my bit of extended family, the only person who actually vocalized how they felt was my grandfather, and so we'll get into that as well. But first, I definitely want to speak on the fact that it has been an extremely hurtful realization that, for one, I don't feel supported by my immediate family. My mother has tried to make sense of and understand my place, and she supports me for the most part, but the way my mother supports is really I don't know, it's very questionable, but that's neither here nor there in this video. My brothers haven't said anything, and it's really made me question their place, their views, their relationship with me. We've never really had one. As I've grown older, I've always wanted to keep my family close, and regardless of every time that they've done something questionable where I should probably distance myself, I'll distance myself for a short time, but the good in me always wants to kumbaya and come together and make menses and let shit go. But this is really hurtful, and I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna move forward, and that's dealing with everybody in my family, just because, you know, for a long time, since I was a kid, since I spoke about it initially, it's different to interpret people's behaviors from a child's perspective. But as an adult, revisiting a lot of those events and seeing and understanding and being more mature and knowledgeable about human adult behavior, it's tasteless, and it just shows me how unsupported, unprotected, and I guess unbelieved I am, because there is so much space for the narrative to be assumed and created, because, you know, nobody is really saying anything or defining anything. I'm basically filling in those gaps, and that's what I mean by the gray area. I was sexually abused by my dad. Recently, just letting you guys know about the gang rape situation. But throughout the years, it's never been a secret that I have been, I've always been open with the fact that I'm dealing with guys or dealing with girls. I've always been open. I don't think that I've ever really kept it a secret. You know, I guess, you know, after getting caught a couple times, it's like, why hide anymore? So my brothers knew that I was having these experiences, and they tried, I guess, or in their own way gave me pep talks, which for them what it really was trying to scare me out of messing with guys. Or I guess guys, the way that the way that they put it was like, you know, they was more so concerned with me dealing with guys in the neighborhood who may have known them. And so, you know, the effects of the sexual abuse was very much so present. So to bring my point full circle, because those effects were there, I now, as an adult, reflecting back on the behavior, would have hoped for more intervention in a different way, or different ways to figure out what would have been the best response from me. I hope you understand. But, you know, this is why talking about this now is so important, because although that's what I know that I needed a different kind of support. I needed someone to really talk to me about what was going on. I realized that maybe they just didn't know how. But fast forward, I've become more vocal about what I feel like I needed in my experience. So I feel like as adults, as grown-ass people, at this point now, the least that you can do is empathize. Even if you don't know how to support, you don't know the words, or you may not even believe, hypothetically speaking, you choose not to believe me for whatever reason, you can still empathize. You can still say, you know what, Canola, I'm trying to find the right words, and I can't fully say that I agree or I can understand. But I can clearly see that whatever you're going through is very, very difficult to work through. And I hope and pray that you find the strength to make it through. Whatever the best result is going to be coming out of this for you, I want that for you, because I love you. Regardless of whatever differences we all may have, I love you. That's what I need. That's what I would have hoped for. And I've never received that from no one in my family thus far, aside one cousin or two cousins and one aunt. And that's really, really hurtful. yeah, these people have watched me go through a lot of the things that I'm telling you about today. And in my first video, when I spoke about what I believe they feel, that if I felt like they believed me, I said it, I thought that they did, because putting the pieces of the puzzle together, I would think that if they actually sat down to evaluate who their sister is and what she's done and become, that they would have made sense of it all by now. And they would have acknowledged a little bit more than what they've had. And that hasn't happened. So moving along to the person who has vocalized, which is my granddad. And I'm very surprised by this, because I also mentioned in my first video that of everybody, I felt like my grandfather and my grandmother, his wife, not my step grandmother, seemed to have always wanted to be the glue and keep the peace and keep the family somewhat sort of connected in a way. I don't know how true that is at this point, because following my first video or first 2 videos or so, I received one phone call from him, and he was basically saying or questioning why I was speaking about the family in that kind of way. Like, don't speak about the family, don't talk about things that are not true. Asking me, am I talking about him and his wife in my videos, and they're not on social media, so he feels like I shouldn't be including them in my videos. And I had to just basically tell him, like, you guys are a part of my story, if you like it or not. This was the first phone call. You guys are a part of my story, and I'm not sure what you feel like may not be true, because everything that I said, for the most part, is true. Now, I will say that there's details in my story, like I said, that are not completely black nor white. They're gray, because it was left up for me to interpret, and I think I communicated that in the video. So not every single solitary detail is factual. They're definitely fill in the blanks or conceptualized understandings of what I believe people's behavior to be. That's definitely in there. So I basically communicated that to him, and I mean, after repeating himself and me repeating myself a couple times, I guess the conversation didn't go much of anywhere else. So we ended that phone call. Fast forward to me finding out my dad could have possibly be experiencing cancer for a second time, and me having an emotional reaction to that, because for one, I wasn't really sure for the first time if it was really cancer. I remember having a conversation with my grandparents about him being in the hospital and being ill, but I don't recall them ever telling me what it was for. And then I had a separate conversation with my brother about his illness, him being in the hospital. Cancer was mentioned, but I can't remember for the life of me what it was. I remember my brother telling me we should go get tested for this particular gene, cancer gene, because my dad may have had cancer. I guess that was in the beginning stages. Maybe he wasn't confirmed. I don't really remember. I don't really know. But when I found out for the second time that it may have returned, or he may have cancer for the second time, a flow of emotions came to me, because now, for one, that confirms he had cancer the first time. If he has it a second time, that means that, you know, I'm facing the fact that I may not be able to see him, speak to him, have a relationship with him, or do anything with him for very soon. Like, you know, if he passes away. And I think that I think that's confusing for a lot of people, thinking about it. Like, why would someone who experienced sexual abuse want to have a relationship with their dad or with their abuser. The black is, yes, I was sexually abused by my dad. The black is, as a child, what tends to be the situation when it comes to child sexual abuse, especially when it happens with a family member, you have a hard time separating that relationship as a whole. Yes, this person sexually abused me, but this person is also my father. And so I don't look at him as a complete monster, especially given the fact that it's possible that, in my head, this is what I try to, this is the gray for me. It's possible if I know that my grandmother was sexually abused, maybe he was also sexually abused. That's a question. One, I'm able to forgive. Two, we've had a conversation about it. He's apologized. Three, the sexual abuse doesn't change the fact that this person is my father. And after the sexual abuse, he was able to distinctively make a decision to stop. Although that became a result of a young friend of mine telling her story, and it probably scared him straight, I understood that he has the discipline, regardless of whatever issues he may be dealing with or whatever the situation was in his mind that triggered that behavior towards me. He was able to stop. He was able to continue to, I guess, try and be a provider for me. Like I told you, he did provide financially for me up until I was in college. Those are the whites for me. That was enough white for me to want to continue or have this hope that I don't really want to have a relationship. I just want to have an understanding. I think that I've received the closure that I'm looking for, or the best amount of closure I'm probably going to receive. I don't think that he's ever going to really be honest with me and tell me why he did what he did. Like how he hasn't expressed that to me. The only thing he's expressed to me is he did it because he's on drugs, which is not really a reason to do anything. It's just an excuse. It's an excuse to do something stupid. It's not really a reason. And so I accept the fact that he did something super fucked up to me. I accept that he accepted his fuck up and he decided to stop. I accept that regardless of his fuck up, he tried to provide. My issue is after he stopped providing, I continued to come around. I never made it so that he ever felt like I wouldn't receive him. And here's my biggest issue with my grandfather. So the second phone call that I got from my grandfather, and I'm gonna tie this back. The second phone call that I got from my grandfather was that, why am I putting information out on social media that's not true? Now about my father's health condition. There's laws against talking about individuals' health situations, information, whatever the case is. I understand that. it's wrong to do that. What if he doesn't have it? Okay, what if he doesn't have it? I feel like this should be probably coming from him, don't you think? Like, why are you calling me and telling me or being defensive on my father's behalf? If he feels that way, one, he can clarify with me if it's true or what the details are. I understand you feel a kind of way, that's your son. Do I necessarily apologize for it? Not really. Do I understand why I could be wrong? Okay. But the purpose of me doing that, let's rewind. The purpose of me doing that video is because the fact that I'm a sexual abuse survivor, right? There are many sexual abuse survivors who have the opportunity to confront their abusers. And they have the same question of, should they? So I was vocalizing that exact moment for me because this happens all of the time. And my choice, by the way, was to try and connect with my dad until I started hitting roadblocks, emotional roadblocks and physical roadblocks. So I decided to reach out to him, right? This is my thought process. I wanted to reach out to him, but I did not want to reach out to him or ask my brothers for his phone number or ask for his phone number with the response being, let me ask Daddy first. Let me ask him first if I should give you his phone number. Because that for me is a slap in the face. So back to the phone conversation with my grandfather. So I said to him, I feel like that should probably be coming from him. And he's like, well, you should call him. You got his phone number, right? I'm like, no, I don't have his phone number. Well, you should probably call him. Okay, so while we're on the phone, you want to give me his phone number? And guess what the hell he says? No, I don't want to give you his phone number. Well, why not? Because I don't think that should be coming from me. Well, who else would it be coming from? Why wouldn't you want to give me his phone number? I don't want to really get involved. Well, you're my grandfather of all people. You probably should get involved. Okay, you know what? I'll give you his phone number. Let me call him and ask him. So I had not decided to ask my brothers for my father's number, and those are the only people that I could think of to get his phone number. I did contact my brother's girlfriend to maybe help, but I realized that that's probably not realistic. She said she would try to help, and they'll try to get his number, and I never followed up because I knew it was a bunch of BS. But anyways, so when I asked my grandfather and he gave me that response, I said, you see, this is exactly what I didn't want to happen. So after my grandfather telling me that he wasn't going to give me his phone number and all that hoopla, I said, well, you know what? No problem. Give him my phone number. And if he wants to reach out to me, he can do that. Why should you ask him for permission to give the phone number to me? I'm his daughter. If any one of his sons wants to pick up the phone and call him, they can pick up the phone and call him. Even if they got issues. Because I feel like, that's you protecting my father. That's you protecting him. But because it's me, because of the situation or the sexual abuse from childhood, whatever the case is, you got to be a gatekeeper. If my father doesn't want to speak to me and I randomly call him, he can let me know he doesn't want to speak to me. And if he wants to, he can explain why. But for you to go gatekeep means that, one, you're protecting him from what I don't know. And two, it gives him the opportunity to yet again say no. But hypothetically, me call him and I'm on the phone and he's on the phone, how dare you hang up on your daughter who's been reaching out to you? Oh, well, I don't think he's going to do that. Well, I don't know why. I really truly don't know why he wouldn't want to reach out to me. We've already had a conversation about what you did to me. Are you aware that I'm making these videos and you're not happy about it? Is that what it is? Like, what is it? Why wouldn't you want to reach out to me? I mean, forget me making these videos. I don't even know how many years it's been since we've had a conversation. And the last conversation was during a Christmas event, which he didn't know that I would never return to. Like, there wasn't any bad exchange of words or anything from the last time I spoke to my father. He just decided, I'm not reaching out, so I guess I got an issue and he probably shouldn't reach out either. Like, where did that come from? It's disappointing. It is disappointing. It is so sad. It's just, I've never done anything to anybody in this family of mine, but I always get the fucking short end of the stick. I always get treated like I deserve to be treated this way. Like I've done something to deserve all of this. And I said that to my grandfather. Like, I've never deserved my father not wanting to be in my life. I mean, but I have to think about the fact that he thinks that I am blaming his son for doing something that's not true. But why would I make up a story like this? I've never made up any other random kind of story throughout the years. A lot of the things that I'm telling you guys now that are considered, I guess, to be a little outrageous of a story, I've never spoken about it until now. My close friends know. But I was never just randomly creating situations for attention. That's not me. I never like attention. If anybody who has ever crossed my path knows that I am mostly quiet, cool, calm, and collected in the corner somewhere. I am not an attention-seeking person. At all. Anyway, to be honest with you, like I said, I've never given anybody, especially him, a reason to feel like I never wanted a relationship. After me turning 18 years old, I decided to come back around the family. I decided to do that. I decided to try and have whatever kind of a family relationship. We came around each other on Christmas once a year. I thought that was enough, at the very least. But when I realized that it was really uncomfortable, and I asked my father to admit to his mother what he did, it was important for me that my grandmother knew what he did to me to be true, because I was robbed of a relationship with my grandmother. I mean, among everybody else who clearly has these doubts, I guess, around believing me and how those relationships were created very awkward. That with my grandmother was really important, and he told me he would do it. And I seen that as Christmas after Christmas after Christmas was going on, that wasn't gonna happen. I mean, and then to think about it, to be honest with you, let's just put things into perspective. Who's gonna bring up a topic like that on a Christmas holiday when everybody's supposed to be happy? Circumstantially, it wasn't. I was waiting for the perfect moment, but the perfect moment wasn't ever gonna come. Because one, the time, the situation, and just he wasn't showing any progress at all. Like, he wasn't trying to do anything. He wasn't talking about it. We had that conversation, and after we had that conversation, it was a dead issue. And I kind of hinted, 1 or 2 times, 3 times, that I was still looking forward to that, and it didn't come. So I said, fuck it. What am I waiting around for? Everybody's up in here being fake. I don't like the energy. If you want to have a relationship with me, or if you got something to say to me, or if you got something that is going to be beneficial to me, then you can reach out to me. But I let it go. Like, it's so unhealthy to water relationships that you're not getting anything from. And I find that I do this a lot, and I've been doing this with my family for so long. For so long, just for the sake of family. And my family has done little to nothing for me in support of me. I told my grandfather, after that phone call, I sent my grandfather the longest text message, and I said, I feel like I need to communicate a couple of things to you following our conversation. And one of the things that I said in that message was, I realized that none of the men in my life who were supposed to protect me, they never have, like, they never stood on the line of defense for me. Not even my mother. I can include her in that group as well. Like, I've always been the opponent. I've always been the opponent. I'm the youngest in my immediate family. I'm the youngest in my extended family. My mother has 9 brothers and sisters combined together. Of all of their children, I'm the youngest cousin. And no fucking body has ever stood in the line of defense for little old fucking canola. And I seem to have, not for nothing, tap on my back, gotten my life, my situation, my emotions, my mental, all the way together, despite all the chaos that I've grown up in, through, and around. Like, there's people in my family who give me credit where credit is due. But from the people that I wanted to come from, I'm not waiting around for that acknowledgement anymore. I don't care about it. I feel like I'm beating a dead horse. So, not anymore. Not anymore. So I sent my grandfather this long ass text message, and his response to me was about his son. I'm communicating to my grandfather that my intention behind doing these videos is not to bash anybody's character. It's everything to do with telling my story, supporting other people who have gone through a sexual abuse or domestic violence experience. This is a platform to tell different kinds of stories from different kinds of backgrounds, and I'm just starting with mine. My kind of story, I know, resonates with a lot of people, especially Black and brown people. I don't know what it is in our lineage that incest, family sexual abuse is so prevalent. I never told you guys that on my mother's side of the family, sexual abuse was very prevalent as well. My grandfather on my mother's side molested or raped 2 of my aunts and was rumored to have messed with another one of my aunts as well. And I can see the effects now that knowing that I'm a survivor of sexual abuse. I see it in my aunts now, finding out as an adult that they experienced that, and knowing that they didn't have an outlet to speak about these issues in their time growing up. It wasn't something you spoke about. It's something you dealt with, you kept quiet, and you survived through in silence. And my aunt, she told me she was very, very, very proud of me for doing that and being able to vocalize how I felt. She said there's people who would take it to their grave. I love my baby. I love my aunt so much. I love my aunt so much. When we had that conversation, I wanted to ask her about it, but I didn't. So Auntie, I know you're gonna watch this, and I know what happened to you. I love you, and I would love to talk to you about it. They didn't get a chance to go to therapy. Therapy wasn't a thing. They lived with my grandfather, who was a functioning alcoholic. They were very, very financially unstable. It was so many of them in a house living together. They dealt with fighting and all kinds of issues that even my mother still deals with as a backlash. Sharing clothes, fighting over this and that, just as a result of living in poverty and living in a household with all of this toxicity. For anyone who is ready to tell their story, know that the responses that you're probably going to receive is not going to be good ones. They may not always be supportive. They may not always be the most positive. But everything that you've already been through has prepared you for what you're about to go through. And nothing or no one can stop your perseverance. Nothing or no one can stop your strength. Nothing and no one can stop you from overcoming what you have already decided to overcome. You already decided to overcome. This is the liberation part of it. Doing this for me has done so much emotionally for me. Although a new wave of emotions are being experienced because of the responses, I'm so much more receptive to the information, a lot easier. And I'm dissecting it, like I told you, and deciphering it black, white. And I'm not even gonna really tap into the gray, like I told you, because the gray is a place of uncertainty. I'm looking at what I am certain about and weighing that against the things that I'm uncertain about when it comes to these people in my life, and deciding how to move forward with people. I value myself. I've grown and I've worked so hard to get to the space that I am right now that I value my energy. I value my strength. There's nothing or no one that can take that away from me. I am honestly a very good-hearted person, no matter how many times people have done things and worked against me. If you ask me, if you ask lots of people, I've been through things that should have broken me down. Keep it black and white as much as possible. Figure out the gray later. Don't let the gray trip you up. If you enjoy watching these videos, let me clear my eyes real quick before I give y'all this outro. If you enjoy hearing these stories, if you get anything from this, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. I know it's been a little couple of weeks since I uploaded my last video, but I promise I will stay consistent in doing so. All right, you guys? I love you, family. For all of my sisters and brothers who have experienced something worth fighting through, keep it going. You can do it. I love you, and I hope to see you guys soon.